I'm kind of a simple person. I see things that are wrong and I try to understand them so that I can fix them. I decided when I was 10 that animals probably didn't want to be eaten. So I went vegetarian, and for 9 years that was enough for me. I thought I was doing my part. I didn't know what a battery cage was, I didn't know what a macerator was, a race, a knocking box, a farrowing crate, a bolt gun. The terms exsanguination and controlled atmosphere killing meant nothing to me. I never met a pig, cow, goat, duck or sheep. I knew about slaughterhouses, but only in the vaguest sense. Footage existed, but it wasn't recent and it wasn't from Australia, so I didn't really concern myself with it. And so this naive, superficial conception that I had about the animal agriculture industry, about slaughterhouses, was enough for me. Until I stepped inside one. I remember the wheelbarrow left there overnight, overflowing with entrails and viscera, being eaten by a pig who had escaped the pens. I remember a pig's head hanging on a hook, his eyes slightly open and mouth agape. A few meters from his torso that had been split down the middle. A few meters away on a bench sat a knife and sledgehammer stained with blood. I remember feeling anger like I've never felt before and realizing that I didn't understand a damn thing. So in the 5 years since then, I've traveled all over the country, researching and learning, building a database fronted by the website AussieAbattoirs.com, which now contains footage and photographs of horrific cruelty from 13 hidden camera investigations, with a further 237 slaughterhouses identified and located. I've spent countless hours getting to know pigs free and happy in their natural setting. I've played with them, I've watched them gather hay to make a nest in which to sleep, and I've seen them practically melt from belly rubs. And I've heard their screams as they're forced into the gas chamber, writhing and thrashing with their last breaths as the carbon dioxide burns their insides. I've seen the curiosity and friendliness of cows and the sheer pleading terror in their eyes as the sledgehammer caves in their skulls, or as they try to jump out of the knockbox to avoid the bolt gun while its wielder mocks and taunts them. 5-day-old male calves, confused and desperate for love, calling for their mothers from the holding pens of the slaughterhouse, where they are beaten and tossed around like rag dolls, waste products of our dairy industry. Thousands upon thousands of cheeping male chicks dropped from a conveyor belt into the blades of a macerator, their blood spattered all over its walls for the crime of being unable to lay eggs. And we're told that all of this is humane, that it's ethical, that we have nothing to worry about or question, because here in Australia we have standards, we have codes of conduct and authorities to regulate them. And yet there are no prosecutions, no response to our investigations, other than at best a slap on the wrist and a temporary reassignment of the workers depicted in the footage, while the larger problem goes ignored. The problem of a system built on the idea that you can humanely kill someone who wants to live. Meanwhile, my home was raided by a dozen police. They took everything and charged me under a New South Wales ag-gag law with a possible sentence of up to 5 years in prison for publishing footage of animal cruelty. For publishing footage. That's including the footage from the gas chamber at Australia's largest pig slaughterhouse, which was the first time in the world that the process of carbon dioxide gassing had been exposed to the public, while the industry had been calling it humane for over 20 years. If the greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated, what does that say about Australia, where we praise those who exploit and abuse animals as community heroes, while treating those who stand up for animals worse than pedophiles, labelling them terrorists for having the gall to think that needlessly inflicting pain and death is wrong? Where we slaughter some 600 million land animals every year, including 500 million broiler chickens for meat, 5 million pigs, 12 million layer hens because their egg laying has started to slow down, and their 12 million brothers who couldn't lay any, hundreds of thousands of male calves because they can't produce milk, and many millions more lambs, cows, bulls, goats, turkeys and ducks. The thing I've come to understand above all is that this is not an industry we are up against. It is an empire of suffering and blood that takes for greed without mercy or remorse, entrenched in a national identity we're told to be proud of. propped up by our government while it destroys our environment, fills our hospitals, and tears down any right we have to claim that we've learned anything from the violence that this nation as we know it today was founded upon. As long as there are slaughterhouses, there will be battlefields, there will be injustice. How can we even speak of concepts like justice and moral progress and superiority when places like these exist, whose sole purpose is to take thinking, feeling individuals, most of them just babies, and reduce them to pieces of meat on a shelf? I am sick of walking past thousands upon thousands of suffering animals and sitting through hundreds and hundreds of hours of footage to choose whose stories to tell, whose suffering to give some sort of meaning to. I have become so desensitized to seeing pain and death that I relish seeing things that can still make me angry because it reminds me that I'm still human. And so many times I've felt such hatred for the people employed in the kill floors of these places before realizing that they're probably going through the same thing. Because when you allow yourself to connect with an animal, to see them for who they really are, killing them becomes murder. Disconnecting, being indifferent becomes the only way to survive that job, and from indifference comes brutality. I speak today not just for the lives taken before my eyes, but for those taken out of sight, in closed rooms covered inches thick with blood. Their screams and cries for mercy ignored or mocked. Their fear and suffering, their memories and desires, everything that makes them as unique as each of us and the companion animals we share our homes with, lost, forever forgotten. The final traces of evidence that they ever even existed, pressure hosed down the drain or washed down our sink, leaving behind only clean white walls and dinner plates, so that the next day we can do it all over again while we take comfort and assurance from marketing slogans like happy cows, free range, and RSPCA approved. The greatest defense of the animal industrial complex is secrecy. Our greatest weapon is truth. Billions of dollars in marketing cannot defeat the goodness that I believe is inherent to most people. Today, slaughterhouses do have glass walls. All we have to do is get people to look. In response to having my home raided, I created a video called Thousand Eyes, which has since been taken to the streets of major cities all over Australia and the world, including here in Melbourne regularly by groups like Anonymous for the Voiceless and the Animal Activist Collective, who will both be doing so down there later today after the march. Please join them. And people are angered by what they're seeing in this footage, by what's been hidden from them for so long. Good people are capable of changing when presented with the truth. We started from the simple idea that perceived superiority does not grant us dominion, that might does not equal right, and now we are one of the fastest growing social justice movements in history. They can ridicule us, raid us, attack us, or throw us in jail, but nothing they can do to us can ever compare to what is happening day after day in our country's slaughterhouses. And until every last one is shut down, we owe their victims nothing less than everything we have. It is time for anyone who believes that we are capable of more as a nation and as a species to stand up and reach for it, no matter how hard you're pushed down, no matter how alone you may feel, to be the light no matter how dark it may get. Because when you stand on the right side of history, you are never alone. And I certainly haven't been alone. I've had the privilege to work with and learn from some truly incredible people over the years. Most of them women who get far too little recognition in this movement, while I get to stand up here and take all the credit. This is thankless work, so I want to thank every single activist who gets out there, but I especially want to thank those female activists, those who showed me the way when I was lost in this world, those who continue to fight and to lead and to work so tirelessly in the background without ever asking for anything in return, and those who helped me understand that this movement is not just about closing slaughterhouses, it is about achieving justice for all who are oppressed. No evil can last forever. Thank you.